In this lesson, I'd like to consolidate some chord knowledge just as we finish some of the first year work and are looking forward to second year, slightly more challenging musical stuff. Let's go over some basics. I've got my dog Otis joining us, fast asleep there for this lesson. You see his face sometimes on the Google documents. When I appear on your document, his face joins you. So he's very excited about this lesson. So let's start at the really basic things, the kind of the strummy acoustic guitar shapes that I presume you know, but let's just go through them. I'll go through the alphabet. So we've got an A shape. Okay, some people play it as a bar like that, it's totally fine, but often we want to hear the E note at the top. Okay, A, B. Most of the time we need B7th, which is that shape there, where we got our first finger on the D string, and there on fret 2 are the A and G. That note at the top. Of course, we've got the bar, B shape, you might play it like that, but that's a useful one to know. Our C shape, okay, I like the fact that we can add this note at the top of the C, sometimes, gives us another kind of tone. That's with the third at the top, that's with the fifth at the top, and sometimes we might have all 6 strings with the fifth in the bass as well. D. Some people play it like a kind of bar shape, that's totally fine. Okay. Sometimes you need to put the F sharp note at the top, particularly if you're in the key of G. That's a useful kind of transitioner. So we're up to E. I'm going to play it like that, but of course you can play it like that. We'll come back to the E chord in a minute. F, let's try and make sure, unless it's a full bar F, let's try and make sure that it's the F where we're getting 5 strings pressed down, so we got that C note. They're both on fret 3, A, D, fret 2, and that's a mini bar over both of them. And G, either like that or like that. I like it with both those notes on there. Okay, so quickly through those again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to C. Now, I just want to show you, it's a real close-up this on my shaky fingers, just all the different chords we've got just within the E shape. Okay, so we've got that A shape, we've also got that E shape. I would use that one if we're anticipating having to move to other kind of bar-type chords, because then you've got to move to G. Your fingers are already in the kind of bar chord shape almost there. So sometimes, say you play lots of bar chords like... It's easier to do that rather than suddenly pivot your fingers into the other kind of E shape. Okay, so that's the only time usually I would use that one. This one's useful because it frees up our little finger now to do a variety of things. One thing could be to make a 7th, putting the B on fret 3 there. Remember, we can make a 7th just by lifting off our kind of ring finger anyway, but the 7th doesn't sound out very strongly there, so if we put the 7th at the top of the chord, or towards the top, it sounds nicer. We've got the option of a little hammer on as well, where this becomes a minor and a major. Remember, that's E minor, but sometimes we might have this. Particularly in blues, R&B, country or something, you might want the minor major hammer on. Okay. Other things we can do with this little finger shape, we can make it a sus4 note chord, which then becomes that. Hear it, I'm tucking my little finger underneath my other fingers on fret 2, so it's on the G string, and then it goes, lift it off to resolve the sus4, sorry. It's the 4th note of the scale, the A. We can put it on the B string now to get a 6th. It's quite nice. We can put it on the E string of fret 2. To give us a sort of 9th. So listen to all those little hammer-ons. These are the 9th one, 6th, 4th. So a few other little things that maybe is developing your chord knowledge just using the E shape. Okay, if I use this finger now to not only press the G string, but I also press the B string slightly with it, we're getting the sound of augmented chord there. Now it sounds a bit sloppy, as you can see, if you try and strum all the chords, because ideally what an augmented chord does, it lifts your 5th, this is the B, 1 semitone. Okay. creating this little harmonic rising thing of, so there's your normal fifth that you have in the chord, there's the augmented note, there's the sixth note, there's the seventh, and I'm only strumming the from the D string to the top string there. So maybe just practice using your little finger to sound out those notes. As you heard there, I fluffed up the second one slightly. Another thing we can do as well, which gives us some other kind of nice shapes. Let's imagine it's an E minor now. We had a chromatic rising thing there. Remember, chromatic scale is where we play every note. Okay, we've got a downward one now, which is going to go from our bass note down and eventually fall on our fourth, and it's an E minor. This becomes an E minor major seventh. Still strumming those open. The G, B and E open there, but I've just moved the bass note down to fret 1. And our final chord is fret 4 there, fret 2, fret 4 on the A string, fret 2 on the D string, and then the other open notes. Nice if you can always try and put a bit of vibrato on the chord. That's why you can see I'm sort of shake my hand, my fingers shake slightly anyway, which helps me. It just helps the chords sing out a little bit. Other chords within the E shape you might want to mess around with. There's sometimes called the Jimi Hendrix chord. It's the E7th with a sharpened ninth. Normally at the top, but those two at the top. You put it on any bar chord shape. It's easy to play up the neck. Good in kind of funk music if you want that little bit of dissonance, because what you're doing there is you've got the third of the chord played natural, but you've got the third flattened at the top. It creates that dissonance. Just in E, there's a kind of nice major seventh shape that's nice here, where if you mini bar the A and the E string there, and then you mini bar all four there, you get a nice kind of chord. These two middle fingers are just hanging in the air there, not pressing anything down. And there's a diminished chord shape which is worth knowing because it moves all around the neck. There's a normal A chord. Okay, here's the diminished chord shape. Looks a bit like a D7th that you've moved up an extra fret. Put that now on fret 2. So it's almost like an A7th. Those two notes and those two added together gives us a diminished chord. But the great thing about diminished chord is you can play it and move it up 3 frets. And it's the same chord again, but the notes, the inversion of the chord turns around. Sounds very sort of Scooby-Doo. And diminished chords, we'll be using some more of them as we move into jazz work as we go into second year. So just within the E shape there, I think I played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in the region of 12 versions of chords just around the E shape. Of course, most of those chords are now going to be transferable when we put the bar on, but you've got to maybe make compromises, maybe use your thumb for the bass note. If you want a G6, you can play it like that, for instance. As we move into second year, we'll start to get to the point where we're not going to kind of always play all 6 notes of a chord. For a lot of the time, particularly if you're working in, I don't know, soul or reggae things, you just want the top 4 notes of a chord. You don't want the full crash of a kind of full bar chord with those deep bass notes. Sometimes we want to leave some space in the mix for the bass and maybe for the piano as well. So we might be just playing little short kind of. So let's learn all those bar chord shapes while we're on. Okay, so we've got our E bar chord shape, F, G, A, B. Remember the flats are always between the two, so that's A sharp as well as B flat. There's B, B flat, there's A sharp. So A sharp and B flat's exactly the same thing, remember? Got a C there, got D, got E, if we want to go all the way at the top. Other basic things with this, I'll keep it on a G chord shape. Lift off that finger, it becomes minor, remember? Lift off that finger, it becomes a 7th. Put that on, get a 7th. Tuck it underneath, you get a 6th. Play both them together as a mini bar, I don't know if you can see. You get a 6-9 chord, which I particularly like. And then remember, we've got the other bar chord shape we use a lot, which is where you move the E shape into sort of an A minor shape. And this is a nice shape if we've got our minor chords lower down the neck. So there's C minor, B flat minor, D minor, E minor. And this shape's, again, quite nice if we're playing something in a kind of funky disco style. We can lift that off to get the 7th, and we can hammer that on. That sounds a bit like Chic, or maybe he's another brick in the wall. And you've got the option of sticking your little finger on, trying it out in other places. That's a 7th to a 6th going on there. So, work your way around some of those shapes, try and revise them yourself. If you know them all, brilliant, you're well prepared. If not, try and learn some of those just whilst we're in lockdown particularly and we've got a bit of extra time. Okay. Remember all those shapes I showed you in the E chord. See if you can transfer them to the kind of the open A and open D shapes, for instance. So there's A, there's A7th, put note on A7th. Where's the diminished version of that? There's the A. Where's the kind of augmented? Got that shape by moving your kind of 5th note up 1. Where's your major 7th? Let's learn that shape as well. Major 7th shape, you can play it as a bar chord and move it up. It's where you got both fingers, your ring finger and your little finger on the same fret, but then your middle finger tucks in on the fret behind, and then a bar chord. So there's C major 7th. Great one for jazz, great if you're into some sort of jangly indie music, the Smiths and stuff like that. You can get some nice sounds out of those chords. And again, just experiment. Find a D chord, for instance. What's going to happen if we put our finger on? That's a sus4 chord. What if we lift this finger off on the there? There's our sus2. Where's our major 7th? There. Just see if you can kind of use your ears to kind of find the sounds of chords and work out where all these shapes are. And along the way, you might accidentally find another chord shape that sounds great, and you might have found the magic chord, the missing chord that we're all searching for. I accidentally one day put my fingers in the wrong position and discovered that nice kind of, again, I think it's a 6-9 type chord. That's a D. There's a 6th note. There's the 9th note, yeah, 6-9, and that's a movable chord shape. There's a funny chord that you might hear on records by The Police or Steely Dan, for instance. Let's pick a C bar chord shape, but I'm going to put this finger on the D there. Get this lovely kind of. You know, guitar players are always looking for those kind of magic chord shapes. So do a bit of work, consolidate your chord knowledge, and keep your volume of guitars quiet enough that you don't wake your sleeping dogs.